Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March meeting of the Springmore Residents Association. If you notice, we're missing something, which is our clock. So I'm assuming that we are close to 3 o'clock, based on everybody considering their phones. I need to read the fire code to start. In the event a fire alarm sounds, please remain in the auditorium and stay seated. Should there be a need to evacuate, a Springmore staff member will direct you on how to leave in an orderly fashion. Please remember not to use elevators and to go to a red pole once outside. Would you please take a moment and please silence your cell phones so that we won't have that going off in the middle of any of our program. The first thing on the agenda is an announcement from Leah Willis, who is our Resident Life Director.
Good afternoon, everyone, and those watching at home on Channel 1341. Just a fun, quick announcement for you. March Madness is here, and Richard Settle, our Resident Services Director, has helped me to partner with this event. And if you would like to fill out a bracket for March Madness, we're having a friendly competition. I just need your brackets filled out and returned to me by Thursday at 10 a.m. That's St. Patrick's Day, the 17th at 10 a.m. And I'm going to leave these as I exit, and Peg comes back up on this front row here. There's some vacant spots. Please grab one on your way out. They're also at the post offices. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. And now we have an announcement from Lori Higgins, our chaplain.
Good afternoon. Just a couple announcements from the chaplains. First, I wanted to say at the encouragement of some of the residents in the Sunday school class, we are so thankful to have a prayer devotion and guide for the people of Ukraine. And those are found outside each of our offices, and I have some here for you as well this afternoon. And also, tomorrow is Dementia Caregivers Support Group at 3 p.m. in room 273, and there is a social gathering also at that same time. There is going to be, we are in the season of Lent, and there are many events coming up for Holy Week next month, so please check your pathways for all of those offerings. Thank you.
And our next announcement comes from Dave Waters, our Vice President, who is going to talk to you about our next meeting in April.
Good afternoon, Springmore residents. Next month is going to be, I hope and expect, a very interesting program presented by one of our Springmore residents over in South Village, Joe Donnelly. Joe is a member of the USO, and part of what he does with USO is to bring home MIA, missing in action from veterans from World War II, Vietnam, and Korea. They brought home 13 MIAs to RDU over the last few years. But this particular program next month, in addition to detailing the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency, that is the agency that searches out remains with advances in DNA. There are a lot more veterans that are being identified. In particular, we have not only Joe, but some other Springmore residents that are involved in one that came home after more than 75 years missing in action in Europe. So that will, I think, touch your hearts. I know it touches mine, having veterans in my family from World War II that came home, but those that did not come home until 75 years later, this is one that Joe will particularly focus on, along with other Springmore residents that are involved also with that particular veteran. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I do encourage you to come and see that program next month. If any of you heard Joe Donnelly before when he presented a program to us, it really is something that is amazing, the work that they do and what he goes through. I think you will really find it interesting. And now for our program. Today is one of the 2 semi-annual meetings that Springmore must have, and it will be presented by Brandon Hare, our Executive Director.
Good afternoon, everybody. So good to see everybody with all their smiling faces and no mask on. That's great. Very proud of that, and I know y'all are as well, to just be able to smile and see everybody. It just makes it feel more homey and just more like family. So I'm glad to see everybody. So thank y'all for being here. Before we get started, I want to introduce a couple of guests we have with us. First, I want to ask if there's any board members here on the Springmore Board or Springmore Endowment Board. If you would stand for me, please. You can be recognized. Just want to sure. Mr. Bill Baxley here in the back, and Mr. Albert Calloway, and Mr. Bill Marley, who was over here. So thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it. Also like to recognize Kyle Dilday and Mr. David Ammons. They're both here from our management company. I think most everybody knows them, so I want to recognize them. And also want to say thank you to Mr. Marley, who helped compose all the questions that y'all submitted this year and with the MAC, and helped me with responding to those and giving me suggestions and just gathering that so well. So thank you, Mr. Marley. I appreciate that. Good job as always. I have 6 questions, 3 questions and 3 suggestions, so 6 submissions that I'll answer here in just a bit. But what I thought I would do first is do a year in review. I did this last year and thought this may be neat to see again, especially after going through COVID. And if you're like me, the past 2 years have just been a blur. I don't remember anything that's really just, my date from 2019 to like now. It's just those 2 years are just, I don't know, they just seem kind of gone. So I think we did a lot of great stuff last year that I think maybe went unnoticed or maybe we forgot about. So thought I'd focus on some positive things that happened last year instead of all the COVID stuff that happened. So I'm going to just go through here. I know that y'all can read just fine, probably better than I can, but I'm also aware you may not be able to see this from where you're sitting. So I'm going to talk about each one just because I want to make sure everybody can hear me if you can't see it. So some of the areas we're going to be talking about is IT, human resources, marketing, administration, housekeeping, resident life, maintenance, wellness, the Stewart Health Center, and security and transportation. So we'll start on the first one, information technology. This is Daniel's department. As most of y'all know, we have a new portal that's called Touchtown. I know we've received rave reviews about that, and we had to upgrade to a new portal as our other one was being phased out. So we're excited to have that. It's got more community apps that y'all can use. A new TV broadcast system for 1341, and also produces new digital signage. Next, 1341 on HD. That's something we've been wanting to do for a couple of years. We were restricted on certain things we could do without having an HD signal. So now we provide a high definition picture through Spectrum. So when you watch 1341, it's not all grainy and looks like a 1980s TV, and then that's what I remember it looking like. And then also we have a high definition camera in the back. So when it records, it's recorded in high definition and it'll also be played back on 1341 in high definition. We implemented the North Carolina Reading Station. That's something kind of near and dear to me. I didn't know much about it until I learned about it, and now actually volunteer on their board. And that's a neat. It's an audio readings of news and current events for visually impaired people. That's on 1341 that you can listen to. So even if you're not visually impaired, if you just want to lay in the bed and listen to it without reading, sometimes I look at the computer all day. I just like to listen to the radio and hear the news. So those are some highlights we did in information technology. Human resources. We recruited new CNAs through a new website called MyCNA. MyCNA is a innovative job board to where we do not wait for CNAs to come to us to apply. We actually go and find them on a job board. So it's a subscription you pay for. You go see their qualifications, where they live, how many hours they want to work, and you contact them to try to get them to come in before they contact you. So that's been pretty successful. We hadn't had a ton to come in, but we've had a handful or so that's been good. We successfully recruited a lot of high school students in our dining services through our social media campaign. Y'all seen a lot of the high school kids that are now in the dining room. We continue to get a lot of those, and that was through a social media campaign that was very popular. We hired 158 new employees last year. We ended the year with 498 total employees, 290 full-time and 208 part-time. It says I have both full-time. The 290 is the full-time, and the 208 is the part-time. We implemented required COVID vaccination conditions for continued employment at Springmore. We did that early on, and I'm really glad we did that. And now all new hires must be vaccinated as well. It's one of the stipulations of coming here to Springmore. This is something I wanted to highlight, and normally I wouldn't highlight this or be so proud of a 40% turnover rate, but considering the national average and how tough it is with turnover, especially in the hospitality, food and beverage industry, and the healthcare industry, we did very well. So I just wanted to hit a few things. My target is a 30% turnover rate. That's pretty good for our industry as a retirement community with different levels of hospitality, housekeeping, not just nurses and CNAs. So we want to target 30%. We usually come in a little about 32 to 34% each year, but this year was higher. But considered the 57% national average turnover, I thought was really good. The food and beverage industry had a 130% turnover. And y'all see that a lot in our dining services. That's why we went a while without waited service. We couldn't find anybody to wait tables. So, and a lot of the restaurants you went to were closed or they didn't have enough wait staff. So that had the biggest turnover of any sector. Hospitality as a whole had 74% turnover. And nurses, specifically in CCRCs, were 45% and CNAs 46%. So I'm pretty proud of the 40% turnover considering how last year was so tough. Marketing had a great year, even though we still had COVID lingering around. We moved in 49 new residents. We placed 85 people on our wait list. We had 685 new inquiries from potential residents. We hosted 4 wait list events. We weren't able to do that last year or in 2020 because of how bad COVID was. We've got that back. We've added department manager photos to our website. It's pretty neat. If you go to our website and you'll see those were added. It's a nice addition. And we increased our overall presence on social media. If you follow us on Facebook, you'll see we're posting a lot more stuff about activities at Springmore. We're posting about staff members. We're awards, accomplishments, just anything that's going on at Springmore, we're putting on our social media, and it's really helping our overall presence. Within administration, we updated our insurance software program. If you work with Donna McGee or Celeste Hemingway to track your insurance, we've upgraded our system. We had an original system that worked great for years, and it still did, but we needed to upgrade that to make sure it stays active for many more years to come, so we updated that. Tracy Roach, she was promoted to business office coordinator, which I'm proud of. She's doing a great job. Robin Wright, who had been in dining for many years, she is now assistant in the office, and she's helping with maintenance duties. And with those two, we were able to reduce administration office staff by 1/2 FTE while still providing, I think, better quality services than we ever have before. I think Robin and Tracy are the two best we've ever had in there, and they're doing it an amazing job with with a 1/2 of FTE of what we were doing in the past. So we're trying to save money as much as we can while still providing quality services. For housekeeping, we hired a new director of housekeeping last year, Carissa Thomas. Got her from the hotel industry. She came from Hilton Hotels. We added 10 new staff members over the last 6 months of the year, and when I was writing this, we were fully staffed. Now, that may have changed a little bit, but I know that we're pretty much fully staffed in housekeeping again, which is great. We were able to do that by improving our recruitment and retention by increasing starting wages and increasing staff pay. So that was very huge. That was a big part of this 2022 budget, was increasing starting pay for dining and nurses and CNAs and housekeepers. 4 housekeepers were 7 Service Promise winners, and 98% of all housekeeping staff is fully vaccinated and boosted, which is really great. So, all right, resident life. Finally was able to celebrate Christmas at Springmoor. Seems like if you've been here for a while, it's an annual tradition that seems like we've been doing it forever. But in 2020, we were not able to do it, so it was really nice to be able to do that. Last year, I thought that was a big accomplishment to be able to pull that off. We created a new area in the main lobby to showcase resident artwork. Mr. Harry Holliday, is Mr. Holliday here today? Harry? No. Hopefully he's watching from home. Harry's got an amazing, he won an award for International Fused Glass Competition, and the piece is called Liftoff. It's right out here in our glass case. It's a space shuttle, and it's absolutely amazing. Mr. Holliday just started doing this about a year ago, and there's people that's been doing this for over 25 years that's never won an award in this competition. So I know Leah and the residents and myself are very proud of that. So before you leave today, check it out. It's in the little glass case back there. We received 3,558 messages from the hotline and the portal to sign up for events, and then we signed up 1,838 residents for events. So it's a lot of numbers there. Maintenance, talked about this earlier. Robin Wright, she is now the administrative assistant working with Randy, which has been very beneficial. If y'all have ever tried to call Randy or work with Randy, you know he runs around pretty busily all day with phone in one hand and email ringing and phone in another hand, and he's very busy. And Robin's really helped take off some of the administrative duties so he can focus on more stuff, and she's doing a fantastic job. So that was great. We've got a very well experienced and well-liked staff that we've had for a while. I hear wonderful things about all of our maintenance staff, so I'm glad we were able to retain them. It's a neat little stat. Last year we completed 6,347 work orders. That's a lot of work orders, from hanging pictures to renovating a room to cleaning carpet. That's a lot of work orders. And then on top of that, within those, we had 71 refurbishing apartments, houses, or villas. 49 of those were for new move-ins and 22 internal moves. I think that's something a lot of us forget, including myself, that we may have 49 new move-ins. We have people moving within Springmoor all the time, and sometimes that takes as much effort as it does a new move-in. Wellness. Carrie Ritchie, who somehow got the pleasure of doing our flu shots over the years, because she did a good job, and we keep asking her to do it. That's how she got to do it somehow. But we tasked her to do the COVID shots, and she did fantastic with that. And we administered 1,640 COVID shots. That's a combination of first and second doses and the booster shots. We offered 1,830 exercise classes, and total attendance was 11,703. And I can bet you Miss Charlene Young probably went to all of those but about 2. Am I right, Miss Charlene? About all of them. She's very dedicated to the wellness. So I like to always highlight her because I know how much she enjoys it. We increased our classes offered by 11.25%, and our attendance increased 17.8%. So that's great. A lot of new residents moving in. Wellness is a big part of their life, and they're wanting to participate more. So we're glad of that. Stewart Health Center, we began 2 administrators in training. If you're not sure what administrator in training is, in the state of North Carolina, to obtain a nursing home administrator's license, you have to go through a 9-month administrator and training program, which you have to train under a licensed preceptor in a nursing home or healthcare setting to be able to sit for your test to obtain your license. So we were lucky enough to have our nursing home administrator, Kerry Corley, is a licensed preceptor. So he is able to take on AITs, and we have 2 that's going through the program. Brad Dilday, who's actually here today, asked him to come and to the meeting today. He's going through the AIT program, and also Richard Settle. So we're glad to have those. They're about halfway through. About halfway through. So that's good. We'll have 2 more licensed administrators soon, just in case we need them. Completed our Action Pack Culture Change training. That was a 2-year training that we've been doing, and we completed that last year. We have started phase 1 of construction. You've seen a lot of stuff moving around outside. There's been a little bit happen inside, but that's going to start ramping up here pretty quick very soon. So, but we did start that. We did a small renovation to the Clayton Wing Nurse Station to make it more of our model of what it's going to be like with a neighborhood model. We successfully promoted Debbie Savinsky as our new DON. I think everybody knows Debbie, and she's done a fantastic job, so I couldn't leave that out with highlighting Debbie. We transitioned Springmore Physical Therapy to Legacy Therapy Services while maintaining all Springmore Physical Therapy staff. I think y'all remember that when Springmore Physical Therapy was integrated with Legacy. And I think that's worked out really, really well, and all the same staff is here, which is great. And lastly, we all successfully weathered the Omicron variant, which was great. We were lucky enough to have our both doses and our booster when that came. So we did have a good many people, unfortunately, get the virus, but nobody was seriously sick during that variant, so I'm glad of that. A few other things I thought was really neat. So we talk about recruitment, retention, and nurses and CNAs. We were able to retain 27 CNAs that's been at Springmore for over 10 years. That's pretty impressive. And then also we retained 20 RNs and LPNs. Those are our nurses that have been with us for over 5 years. So as the burnout for nurses and healthcare continue and switching jobs, I'm pretty proud of that. That's 47 staff members that we've been able to keep, which is great. Security, transportation, and concierge. A lot of y'all know we've purchased some new stairwell evacuation equipment that was identified through a couple of residents. And I was looking at Mr. Waters. He helped a lot with that, and we have those in the stairwells. We restarted our activity transportation after COVID, which I'm glad we got that off the ground. We developed a new database with emergency information for each of y'all. It contains stuff of, if you're ambulatory, do you need help, do you have a dog or a pet, all that information. We were able to purchase a new Ford Flex. Those are very popular amongst all the residents for more medical transportation runs. We now have 4 of those, which is good. So everything's pretty much a Flex. Unfortunately, they quit making them, so I don't know what we're going to do when these things wear out. Worry about that when the time comes. Another promotion, Jacob Hollingsworth, who has been with us for 16 years, is our 3rd shift guard. Started here working when he was in school in ministry, and he is now our director of security and transportation. So I'm proud of that, and he's done a great job with increasing department morale, and he's really focused on resident culture and making it the best it can be. So that is the end of that presentation. I just thought that was kind of neat to just kind of see some of the things that we were able to accomplish in a year when we heard so many things about COVID. I thought that was just really neat. So I'm sure there were more that I missed, but those are some highlights. So thank y'all for looking at that. If y'all have any questions or anything about that, anything specific you want to know, please get with me afterwards, and I'll be happy to go over anything that you may want to know about that. All right, so I'm going to get into our questions. Like I said, I have 6 submissions. I'm going to read each one because I only have 6, and I think that's really good. I know when we first submitted questions, there were only 3, and then I know there was a call to submit more questions. We got 3 more, and I'm hoping that the first time there was not a lot of questions, and even the second time only having 6. I hope that's because we're answering a lot of questions through memos that we write, that we're keeping y'all informed more so now than ever. With COVID, we learned that communication constant about everything is works a lot, and I think that's really worked. I think that's maybe why it's cut down on a lot of questions. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I hope that is, and I hope you're getting responses from staff members. Okay, so we're going to jump into the first one. This is one that we've addressed before, and I want to tell you some progress that we made on it. This comes from, says, I've been working on a book, Management Mistakes That Caused France and Germany to Lose World War II. The sort of gross error that Churchill made that was set up by the Gallipoli tragedy. Am I saying that right? Gallipoli tragedy? I think Springmore Management does a wonderful job, but just like brilliant Churchill, it can still make errors. And it goes on to talk about publishing and design and document design. This resident's got a vast experience in consulting and writing and desktop publishing. And to get down to the crux of it, it says, it's not unusual for a church to recognize the visual limitations that come with age. The front door service handout will be available in copies that are larger type, usually 14 inches. And then there was some attached material with some good examples of that. So the crux of the question was, it gives a lot of background, but it's asked if we can try to make everything uniformed that comes out of Springmore with a 14-inch font with a nice italics, like a bold italics, like a Cambria or Times New Roman. And when this came up last time, I committed to every memo that came from me. Like I said, memo from Brandon Hare would be 14-inch font, and it would have a dark italics. So I've done that, and we have recently implemented that into our new resident memo, which was restructured last month. Everyone that is submitted by a lot of different people. So we're having all the articles submitted in the same format, 14-inch font, same italics. And we're also having someone edit that and review that to make sure it all matches up from a resident point of view. And the idea, and I'm looking at Mr. Reichland because he's been very helpful with this. The whole idea is the resident memorandum it is for y'all, and we provide information to you. And I realize, just as I realized from the reading services and having limitations on seeing myself at times, that if we don't produce something you can't see, it's definitely useless. So, yes, sir. Okay.
Particular publication is full of tiny type, lightweight, light print that can't be read in blue color, which is not visible to people with molecular, with their eyesight diminishing.
Okay.
You have a complicated problem here with staff who are not reporting to you, creating documents that cannot be read.
Yep. And thank you. Yeah, I'm going to get with all the directors this week, and when we submit things we're going to try to submit stuff through Tracy and let her try to make sure that that's as uniform as possible. I can't promise that everything comes out of Springmore staff is going to be exactly the same format, as we do have a lot of people submitting, but we're going to try to come up with the best system possible, especially for the resident memos and any other memos that we send out. So, all right, let's see. The second one talks about spam calls, and this is a really, really tough one. I'm not sure how to fix this, but spam phone calls. Yeah, sorry. So I'll read this. Spam phone calls. We all get them. I got one just before we walked in. Okay. Spam. Yeah, is that right? Spam. Yeah. Yeah, scams that are spams, right? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So the unwanted phone calls. So yeah. So I had one of those right before we walked in here about a car warranty. So I know everybody gets those. It was from Lakeland, Florida. So I'm going to read what this resident said, and I know this is a big concern. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure what we can do, but I can assure you we're trying. It asks, why can't management do more to protect us from unwanted sales calls? We are bombarded with unwanted calls daily, as are some of our neighbors. We've never had business relationships with any such callers. I haven't either with any of the ones I get. The National Do Not Call Registry has grown useless over the years. Furthermore, since our outbound calls present themselves as a main switchboard number, the registry will not register our phones. There's an online option which requires an email address, which some do not have or wish to provide to the government. Many calls are spoofed. That's very true. The FCC has required major carriers to verify the caller ID. Why is our carrier seemingly not doing so? For example, despite my asking Spectrum to put my number on their do not call list, they keep calling. That's right. They sometimes spoof a Springmore number that shows on caller ID as Springmore Life Care. So if we give you a list of unwanted call numbers, will you block them from calling us? If not, why not? If not, will you require our carrier to do so? Springmore's a great place to live, but this has become an unnecessary aggravation. And I agree 100%. I think we all deal with that. And we will do all we can. I can tell you that all of the numbers that we can tell so far have been registered through the Do Not Call Registry. Jacob's been verifying that. But we're going to do all we can to cut down on the calls. There's no way I can say that we can block calls. I just don't think that's possible, even with the best technology. Those people seem to be way smarter than we are to get through. It's just constant. So we're going to see what we can do to reduce those. But some things that I have noticed that I thought I would mention is there's several residents I know, and I won't point them out because I don't want them to be bombarded, but they have these answer machines. And when I call them, they say, we're scanning calls for scams or spam, and and to leave a message, and if it's legit, we'll pick up and we'll talk to you. So those, I don't know if those things are called call blockers, or is that kind of right? Okay. So those are very, very valuable. I'd love to tell y'all more about those. If you're interested, I think that's something great to put in place. But that seems to be the best thing that I can come up with for now until we can come up with a better solution. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and I'll get you in touch with a couple of residents I know that have that, so they can talk about it a little better than I can. Yeah, I would say that those probably are probably not real, but I can't verify that. That's very tough. I always say, if in doubt, I would not talk to anybody. I mean, unless you know the person on the other end of the line, it's got to that point to where I just, even the policeman or fireman calling to ask for money or something, I would not even entertain that. Yeah. They're constant. I can't even keep up with them, all the people calling these days. So, all right, I want to move on to the third one. This pertains to Ollie. This resident says that they're concerned about Springmore's lack of support for Ollie. In the past, residents have received information about classes offered by Ollie and transportation available to residents who could no longer drive to classes. Ollie is a very valuable resource for older adults. I believe there are newer residents, particularly those from out of town, who know nothing about Ollie classes. The organization is struggling due to COVID problems, but is working hard to get back to full strength. I've heard from Ollie's staff that they are concerned about Springmore's lack of participation at this time, and they're very willing to do anything they can to help our residents get back to participating. I believe this is an important matter which needs immediate attention from staff. I would like to see Dr. Engel's programs happening more often. This is the most popular evening program and enjoyed by a large number of residents. If finances are a problem, take funds from activities such as some craft programs, which only have left a few participants. Okay, I can assure you funds is not the issue of why Dr. Engel does not come here more often. He comes once a quarter. Their participation has dwindled down a little bit, so we have him come a little less, but we do have him come separately for our wait list people, just so they don't intermingle with y'all, because we only do it 4 times a year now. It's just a little back history. But to talk about that, we've been involved with Ollie for a long time. I don't know, for all I know, Kyle, did you start that? Judd? Okay, so Mr. Ammons, who's our founder, Judd, started that years ago from NC State. He's a big NC State supporter. So we've always been a part of that. Where it really stopped was when COVID happened, which the resident mentions. And we did even offer virtual Ollie classes during COVID. There were several residents that took advantage of it via Zoom. So I know that happened, but we're just coming back from all of this. You know, we're just getting back to weighted service and all these things. So we want to make sure that y'all have access to that. I think in the past, we've never really done much during spring and summer just due to the lack of participation. A lot of people are on vacation and things of that nature. But in the fall, winter, we have always had that available. So I'm going to make sure, I've already talked with Leah about this. She knows the director there. And we're going to make sure y'all have information and maybe even have them come out and speak about it. But we'll make sure that y'all have all the information about Ollie here very soon, because it's a great program. So we'll try to get that back on track. All right. Let's see. The next one, this is a good one. This talks about drinking. Does anybody like to have a drink sometimes? All right. Yes, sir. Sounds great. All right. So it says, why is the Springmore Executive Committee considering acquiring a liquor license for Springmore? Right now, the residents bring their own alcohol to the springs for their consumption. They feel that if a liquor license is required, most of the residents who now frequent the springs will no longer come to the springs that they have to pay on a drink-by-drink basis. This is going to destroy the camaraderie, socialization, and sense of family that makes the springs such a wonderful place. The Springs is like the TV show Cheers, where everyone knows your name. It's like a family with a wonderful sense of belonging. Instead of trying to compete with other life care communities, marketing should look at emphasizing the uniqueness of the Springs environment and not just selling liquor by the drink. I don't believe that the revenue generated by all of the Springmore with an occasional glass of wine with dinner will be enough to pay for the liquor license, the extra staff, and inventory required. Please consider asking the Board of Directors and Executive Committee to take a second look at the issue and talking to the residents about it. So this was...
The executive committee has had nothing to do with that topic.
Okay.
He's just got the wrong group.
Okay. All right. Maybe I was just thinking to refer it there. So,
Yeah, Brandon, I'll admit to that. That was my letter, and that's my mistake.
oh, that's yeah.
Committee members there.
Oh, that's all right. No.
Not aware of that.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you meant, and that's usually it goes up from the executive committee to the board, and yep. Okay. Want to obtain. So, first of all, we're wanting to obtain a liquor license or an ABC license to be able to offer more stuff for residents. So it's not to generate revenue. We're not looking to make any money off of this. That's not the case. We just want to be able to offer more things to everybody, like a wine club, wine with dinner, wine dinners where you pair wine with food, and have that available for family and guests when they come in to be able to have a drink at the bar if they want to. So, for instance, if we wholesale buy liquor, let's say you pay $25 for a bottle of scotch, and you buy it at the liquor store for $25, we may be able to buy it for $10. And if we can do that and sell it for a very minimal price, I'm hoping that paying for a drink will be about the same as bringing your own. I would think that it would increase the camaraderie here. And I don't want Springmore to be like every retirement community. I'm very adamant about that because I think we're unique in so many ways. But I just think that I think this is something that's very common to have in communities. I think residents of the future are going to want to have this and have the opportunity to have a glass of wine or a bottle of wine at dinner and be able to do more of the wine dinners and things of that nature. We've got some big plans for things we want to do outside with an outside area and some other things. But to Mr. Knight's concern, I am looking to see what the limitations are for the liquor license, what you can and cannot do. So right now, people bring their beer and wine to the Springs, and then somebody gets it for you, and you just go about that. Well, if we have an ABC license, that can't happen anymore. You can't just bring in alcohol where a place that has a retail license to sell alcohol. That you can't walk into a restaurant and just bring your own bottle of wine and sit it on the table. Yes, you can pay a corkage fee, and we'll get in. That's all within the weeds. But basically, you just can't bring in alcohol to an establishment. So, but there's nothing saying that you can't have it in other areas. So if you wanted to reserve a room or have a function, we're trying to verify this, and Brad is helping me with this because there's a lot of in the weed stuff that you could still have alcohol in if you reserved it for a couple of residents want to get together. Of course, your houses are places that you could do that, but I think it's something that's very valid that we need to continue exploring. Again, it's been something that we've been working on for a while, and just like COVID, it's kind of halted. So we're trying to get that going again. So. So what I'm saying is that we're wanting to see. Well, we don't have our license yet, so I would say it's not a done deal. But we're still trying to push forward with it. We don't have that license yet. We ran into a little snag with the employee turnover and with COVID. But we're trying to just see what some of the alternatives are of how you can have it in other areas. So, yes, sir.
I'm hearing the Springs. Will this be duplicated in South Village also? Will it be both operational at the same hours and same?
Yes, sir. Yeah. That's the plan. We've always tried to. Yeah, I think it's the Willow Springs over there. So yeah, it would be the same. It would be the same. And again, that's all we've got to come up with all that. But that is the intent. Yes, ma'am.
I think it's kind of sad in a way that Springmore has basically had a 35-year legacy of no drinking in the dining room because of Judd and Joellen Ammons. And now all of a sudden not marketing, but management thinks it's necessary to have drinking here. Most of the people that like to drink go to the Springs. They don't go in the dining room and drink in front of other people that may not agree with it. And also, now we're going to be exactly like all the other lifetime care communities, where we have something very unique and very special in the Springs. Some of the residents, that is literally their favorite part of Springmore.
Wow.
Is the camaraderie. You don't get this having dinner with another couple that you get in. People open up more, and you get to know people better in the Springs than you do having dinner with another couple.
Yep. I appreciate that, and we'll discuss this offline. Normally, I know we didn't have many questions. I've usually taken questions from the floor. Normally, I don't do that to keep it going. So to keep up with that tradition, I'm going to keep rolling. I'll be happy to discuss that further. But I just wanted to address the question as I have the other one. So we have one more and I'm not trying to dismiss it. I'll be happy to, and Mr. and Mrs. Knight, I'll be happy to talk with y'all about that in person, and whoever, I know y'all have some other friends that are interested in it, and I encourage us to have a conversation about that. I think that would be a good idea. So the last one we have, it talks about resident artwork, and I'll read this 2.5 paragraphs. About 2 years ago, a group of resident artists at Springmore asked for permission to hang work in the main hall space where the Sertoma artists have had free reign. We were told that Sertoma had a contract with Springmore for that space, but we were not allowed to know exactly what the contract said. Furthermore, Springmore artists were only to hang their work in the art studio on the lower level, which is a wonderful space, but there are many guests and residents who would enjoy seeing their exhibits who never visit downstairs. In March 2021, we were allowed to display on a 3-foot wall between the elevator and the stairs to the main office. Of course, we had to work around the stair sign, which could not be moved. That's true. That's true. Sertoma's enjoyed 40 linear feet space on our walls for too long. It's high time for a change in favor of Springmore residents. In the last year, we have hung works by 10 Springmore artists on our 3 feet for a month at a time, and have received many wonderful comments from residents happy to see our efforts. We're making a heartfelt request. Please allow Springmore artists the same privilege and consideration given to Sertoma in the past. We're asking your committee to support this request on behalf of Springmore residents. So this was addressed to the Management Advisory Committee. So I will address this based on my thoughts, and then I'm more than happy to look into this. I know this came up before. I was the one that actually was approached by a resident and approved that spot on the wall going up the stairs. That's the spot that they asked for, and I was happy to do that. So I'm happy to look into another area. Sertoma has been something we've had here for a long time, and what I like about the Sertoma is that it showcases senior artists around Raleigh, so it's been a good connection of having resident senior folks in Raleigh showcase their stuff at a retirement community. And also they provide an abundance of work that's changed out 4 or 5 times a year, so there's always something fresh, and it covers up that wall, which is really good. My only concern with that is that I'm afraid we wouldn't have enough material for that area to turn it over and make it to continually change, but perhaps one side of it, or maybe another hall. I would like to ask the decorating committee to look into this. We're in the phase of moving some pictures around now and adding some others that we think would go in a better place. So this is something I'll be happy to look into. So that's a very good. It's a very good request. I believe that is all the questions that I had. Let me see. Oh, no, I have one more. I'm so sorry. One more. This was a great suggestion. This has come up several times. I'm going to read this real quick. Let's see. Clock's not up there. All right, 13 minutes. All right. Opportunities for meeting new people in the dining room. Some newcomers here, especially single women, have expressed to me that it's difficult to meet people for dinner. Many of Springmore residents are wonderful about inviting newcomers to dinner, but it can be awkward for someone to eat in the dining room alone if no arrangements to meet people have been made in advance. I know the dining room staff will help seat people, and the advice is also given that the newcomers should take the initiative. Both of these solutions can be difficult for people who are very shy or who are already traumatized by the move here. I understand how limited dining room space is, but wonder if a larger table arrangement where everyone who just wanted to meet new people, no matter how long they've been here, could just come and go through the evening meal, whether they're alone or a couple, sort of like a cafeteria or family-style dining. That's as you see at an Amish restaurant. I've never been to an Amish restaurant, but I would like to see that. Even school cafeterias. Had my fair share of those. But perhaps Springmore residents could take turns hosting at those locations just to make everyone feel greeted and welcome. And that's a great idea. This has come up several times before, and nothing has just really happened with it. We are happy to provide a table in the dining room, and I've already asked the executive committee to look into this and talk to the Welcome Committee. I think the Welcome Committees, there's one on both in North Village and South Village. I think that'd be a great topic for them to look at, and if that's something that y'all like to pursue as residents, I'll be more than happy to provide a table and make that happen for y'all. So remember, a lot of this stuff is resident driven. So we want y'all to be want to give you what you want, and I can easily do that if that's what's chosen. Second, special interest groups, which residents themselves initiate and advertise. In my initial inquiries, I learned one thing. One, how important it is to avoid public information about groups which may have political implementations, which I know that's very true. We have to be very, very, very careful about that. Leah Willis can help groups schedule a meeting room. And 3, there's a small bulletin board in the mailroom which residents may use to post items. Still, I don't think this information is widely known. Could an article in Pathways provide information and engagement for residents who might want to sponsor a group themselves, example, games, crafts, music, book clubs? There could also be inquiries such as finding a teacher, bridge, piano. If a larger bulletin board could be provided with guidance for appropriate use and scheduling options, it would be helpful. Could some scheduling even be done automatically through the portal so Leah would not have to do extra work? So that's a great suggestion as well. There is a lot to take in when you come in, and that's one of them about the political stuff and special interest groups. I'll be happy to get an article. Hopefully, we can get it in this issue of the resident memo. That's a perfect example of good information. Get it out to y'all. If not, we'll get it in the next one or send out a separate one. But yes, we will get that out so everyone understands all the rules and regulations within our resident handbook, and all that information is it's in that handbook you receive when you move in. Now, it's a thick book, so I don't expect you to memorize it, but there's a section in there. So we'll recite that and bring that up, and then I'll talk with Leah about having a larger bulletin board. So thank y'all for the questions and suggestions. Again, if I didn't answer those thoroughly enough, or if you want to continue the conversation, you know where I'm at. I'll be happy to do that. I just have to kind of go through those kind of quick, just due to the limitation of time. So thank you for your attention, and thank y'all. Have a great day.
Brandon,
Yes.
come over here.
All right.
I want to give you my personal appreciation for the way you've handled the COVID problem. For those of you who don't know, I'm a retired doctor. I started working in hospitals when I was in high school. I've practiced 40 years at Wake Med in radiology. I know a little bit about health, but I've been aided recently by the fact that 2 of my children and my son-in-law are physicians, one of which is getting a master's in public health. So I've kept up with what's going on with the COVID world, and I think you have done a wonderful job. This damn mask has grown to my head. But I want to publicly thank you, and I don't have a cheat sheet, so I can't do anything. And I've talked a little bit slower than you do, but okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
very
you,
good.
Dr. Mears. All right.
Thank you, Ben. That was very nice of you to do that and very well deserved. I will remind you that our next meeting will be on Monday, April 11th, and now we'll do the drawing for the door prizes. David, why don't you draw one?
So much responsibility.
March 17th is St. Patrick's Day, if you've forgotten, as well as March Madness Day, so.
The number is 773-5756. Bill Marley. This one was drawn by Mr. Dilday. 776924. Over there, Joan Poole from North Village. Thank you all, and we are adjourned.